Um, the most challenging scenes were with my grandson. Um, lovely, lovely little boy. He plays Liam. He's super cute. And they cast him really well because he looks like Alyona and Andrew who play Tom and Bethany. And
Yeah.
so he's a cute kid. And he was really sweet. But I've worked with kids multiple times and I've worked with babies a couple of times, and there's a certain time when they're young where like, they don't want anybody except for their mom.
Welcome to Survive the Shows. Welcome everyone to this exciting TV segment here at Survive the Shows. I'm Desiree, and today we have the pleasure of sitting down with Kate Dailey, star of the new LMN movie, um, A Young Father's Nightmare. Join us as we delve into Kate's insights into her character and the challenges of filming this movie. Thank you for being here with us today. so, um, talking about this movie, can you describe in your own words who your character is in A Young Father's Nightmare and what drives her at the start of the story?
Sure. So I play Jackie in A Young Father's Nightmare. I'm very I have a teenage son who has just had a baby with his girlfriend. So I am actually a grandmother in this movie. And for Jackie, like she did not expect to be a grandma this young. But she owns her own business. Her life is it's really wonderful at the top, except for she's in the process of going through a divorce with her son Tom's stepfather. So there's a little bit of personal, like, a couple things aren't going quite the way that she thought that they would. But overall, things are happy. Like her son's going to go to medical school. She really likes his girlfriend, who he's about to propose to. And the night that he's going to propose, she goes missing with her grandson and we don't know what happened. And then there's a body that's found and they think it's her. So throughout it, I mean, she's worried about her son, and that's really the thing that drives her throughout of this is her love and her care for her son because he's going through the worst thing that he can possibly go through. And I'm not a parent myself, but I have lots of nieces and nephews. But that is, from everyone I know, they say that that is the absolute worst nightmare is something that you can't protect your child from. And so that's what really drives her throughout this movie is to protect him throughout all of this because like he's been her world. She was a very young mom. She's a very young grandma, but like she just wants what's best for her family. So that's really her through line throughout all of it. And this was a fun script because you think you know what's happening, you think you know who the bad guy is or the bad girl is, and you it twists and turns quite a bit. So I don't want to ruin anything for anybody, but it takes you on quite a journey, and it's kind of hard on Jackie throughout all of it, to be honest. So.
Yeah. And what was your first reaction when you read the script and learned the tone of that LMN wanted for this film?
Ooh, so the script was really interesting. So the script did change. A couple of things changed in the script from when I first read it, and then we had a table read. And then when we got to set, they had changed some of the things. So, and some of those are details I can't spoil because it's not out yet. It comes out tomorrow. Um, but I mean, the first reaction I had was like, there's no way. I'm too young to play this character. So there was a little, because I was like, wait, she's a grandma? But then, the more I thought about it, I was like, okay, so she's a young mom. But throughout all of it, uh, I just knew that there was just this drive for her. So that was really the main thing that like I knew that that's what they were looking for, and I was like, well, I can do that, and all of the other things, whatever. Like you can do that with makeup, you can do that with wardrobe, you can do all kinds of stuff. Um, but I was a little surprised when I read the script as to who the culprit was. So that was really fun because I think because there are so many twists and turns, it's going to be really fun for the audience to kind of watch alongside and watch us figure out what's going on with this situation. So.
Great. And which scene in the screenplay made you say, I have to play this?
Um, So in the audition, I only had two scenes. It was a really fast turnaround audition. I think I had maybe a day or two. Like it was one of those where my agent sent it to me and she's like, "Hey, you got to get this on tape right away and send it in."
Yeah,
And to be honest, I did not think I was going to get this job because I had a conflict with some of the dates that they had put on there. I was going to be in a different part of the country for a wedding for a family member. So I was like, "There's no way I'm going to get this. I'm just going to do a tape and let's just go for it."
yeah.
And of the two scenes that I read for, there's one where Jackie's talking to her ex-husband, Ross, and she's defending her son. And I really liked her strength throughout that because, he brings up all of these good points, but she, in her gut, she has this mother's intuition that says, this was not, like, this is the worst day for my son. I know that even regardless of if he's getting accused of things or what, like I know he didn't do this and I know that I have to help him. And I thought that that was such a strong like call to action for her. That I mean, that's really what I liked about the character is she has a lot of strength. Like there's a lot of stuff that's thrown at her, and from her past as to what also is happening in the movie, she's got this like inner core of strength for herself and for the people around her. And I think that's what I really loved about the character. So yeah, that.
And how did you prepare emotionally for the most intense moments your characters go through? Any specific exercise or routine?
Um, I'm trying not to give too much away. There's some conflict that happens for Jackie, and her life does get put in danger at one point. And I do a good bit of, there's some screaming that happens. So I'd say the most physically taxing part of that was just the like the vocal preparation because when you're doing that, it's hard on your body, it's hard on your voice. Um, and she gets pretty emotional at some points, so there's tears, and like if you're trying to do that when you're shooting, you don't just shoot the scene once. You shoot the scene multiple times, multiple times, multiple times from your coverage, from the other people's coverage. You have close-ups, you have wide shots, so you're trying to replicate the same emotion over and over again. And for me especially, like if I have to cry or if I'm really angry, that drains me quite a bit, so I have to be a little bit careful about like how I spend my energy. So, and then also like lots of lozenges and just stuff to like physically take care of my voice. But then the emotional side of things, like it's very draining. So, I would like to say that I don't drink as much caffeine as I do on sets but you got to kind of do what you can need to get through the day. So like a lot of tea and a lot of, taking a lot of time to like step away and sort of calm myself back down and drinking lots of water. If you have to do any sort of crying, it dehydrates you quite a bit because you're crying like half the day and then you get done and you feel like you've run a marathon. So.
Yeah. And the movie deals with disappearance and grief. How did you research those experiences to make your performance honest without tipping into melodrama?
Okay. Well, I think grief is definitely one of these things that we've all experienced it in
Yeah.
different forms, whether it's family members, whether it's a loved, a pet that you love. There is, how that feels and you know how it feels to lose someone. And I also think there is the fear of losing someone. And that's something that even though I don't have a child, um, that is something that I can very easily imagine because the thought of something happening to one of my nieces or nephews or to, one of my sisters, um, that's the biggest thing for me that tied me into this character because I think not so much just the grief, but the fear of the unknown and not knowing what's happened and not knowing how you can solve the problem is, I mean, that was the part that felt very real to me because again, when you love someone, you want to make things easy for them. You want life to be good for them, and you want to do everything in your power to support them. And if you feel powerless, that fear kind of takes over. And I don't know, I think that's something that I think a lot of people can relate to because, you just want what's best for your family. And that's ultimately what Jackie wants, is she just wants what's best for her son. But yeah, so those are the things that I think playing on that. I try not to use any of my own, like for grief, for example. Um, I've experienced loss in my life, and I try not to use really, really personal stuff because I like to have a little bit of separation from my personal life and my professional life. And
Yeah.
it just doesn't feel healthy for me because, again, you have to go through it over and over and over again on set. And, it's like opening a wound back up. So I know what it feels like. And for me, in my process, emotions live in different spots in my body. So when I'm keying into a specific emotion, I know where it feels. I know, because like for me, grief lives like, it feels like I'm getting choked. It's right here. And it's very sharp feeling. So when I know that I'm getting to the right spot with the character and doing some of my imagination work, when I start to feel it in the specific spot in my body that I felt grief before in my own life, that's how I know that like, yes, this is a true emotion, and you're living what the character is living while still honoring your own experiences and making them real for the character.
Yeah, amazing. And there's a turning point when the body is reported as Bethany's. How does that event reshape your character's choices and emotional state?
Ooh, yeah. So I think again, Bethany is somebody who works for me. Um, and she's also, my son's fiance or about to be fiance. So there is just like it's just gutting for my character because she wants him to have the life that she didn't have. His father is not in the picture, he's died. So, she's seeing her son with this girl, she pictures herself, and so she wants him to have everything that she didn't have. She wants him to have a full life with her, and when that's ripped away, it's like reliving that pain all over again. And I think that's why she leans so hard into seeing how she can help him solve this problem of her disappearance. And also when she's gone, she tries to be there for him because um she knows what it's like to lose the person that you love. So yeah, it's a pretty emotional scene when that news gets delivered to us all. So that was ugh. It was tough because everybody on set and the crew does a really great job of it because when we have really high emotional stakes, especially stuff like that, because most of the time, yeah, everybody gets along really well, and it's a very fun atmosphere. The director was super fun. Ben was great. But in those more serious moments, they try to keep everything a little bit more quiet so that you can kind of stay in that, especially between takes. And that way you're really you're giving truth to the stakes there. So
Yeah. And did the director give you specific visual or behavioral references for your character you used to ground there?
nothing super specific. I know Ben and I talked. I was in Colorado before we started shooting because I was at the wedding, and
Yeah.
so I remember he called me, and I was literally coming. I was doing an overnight flight to report to set for the first day. So the first day I was shooting, they scheduled my scenes for a little bit later in the day. Like I hadn't even done a costume fitting at that point. So I flew in. I did an overnight like red eye flight. And at 5 a.m. in the morning, I went to a friend's house in Atlanta and then showered and then went straight to set and then did a fitting and then right into work. So it was a really hectic first day. So I'm really grateful because he reached out ahead of time and we scheduled some time to talk about the character, and it wasn't any specific reference, but he wanted to hear what I like because I read the script. He wanted to know if I had any questions, what were some of the things that I was thinking about doing, and just really making sure that I was keyed into both his vision and what I had planned for the character. So yeah, it was a really nice collaboration. He's very easy to talk to and very collaborative, so that made it really fun. And he shoots fast, so that's also exciting, but also a little like, oh my gosh, wait, what's next? Okay, so you got to get it. So that was, I mean, and that's with Lifetime movies in general. They shoot really quickly. So I think this one was maybe 12 days that we shot the whole movie.
Yeah,
Which 11 or 12. It was There were long days and it was very fast. So uh, and there's a certain amount of excitement to that too because it's an electric feeling where you're like, all right, well, let's go do this and let's do this and let's do this. So it was a good set.
that's amazing. And what was the most challenging scene to shoot and why?
Um, The most challenging scenes were with my grandson. Um, Lovely, lovely little boy. He plays Liam. He's super cute. And they cast him really well because he looks like Aliona and Andrew who play Tom and Bethany. And
Yeah,
so he's a cute kid, and he was really sweet. But I've worked with kids multiple times and I've worked with babies a couple of times, and there's a certain time when they're young where like they don't want anybody except for their mom. There's a lot of chaos on set. There's lots of people. There's mics, there's lights, there's all of this stuff that's happening. And so it's a little disorienting for kids. So anytime he was on set, everybody had to really be on their A game because we didn't know how long we were going to have happy baby Liam or if we were going to have screaming baby. Everything was kind of uh, everything was handled with care, and we had to move really quickly because.
yeah,
And again, not he was a lovely child, but that's the one difficulty with kids and animals is that it's a lot for them. So it sometimes can be a little extra challenging for everybody else around them. To sometimes you have to just, okay, oh, so he wants to be picked up. All right, well, we're gonna have to pick him up at this point. Or oh, nope, he doesn't want to look over here. Well, everybody's behind the camera like dancing over here trying to keep him happy. So that was probably the most technically difficult, like not difficult emotionally, because again, it was lovely, but just from a technical aspect of making sure that we were getting the shots
yeah,
that was definitely the most challenging part of it. So, um, kids and animals, they're wild cards.
yeah. And were there any improvisation on set that made it into the final cut? If so,
Oh,
which and why did they work?
I'm not sure because I actually have not seen the movie yet. I've only seen a couple of scenes that I had to do some ADR, which is the where we have to do a little bit of voiceover because maybe there was a background noise or something along those lines. So I haven't seen the full cut of the movie, so I'm not sure. But definitely stuff that was improvised when we had the baby on set. And I'm trying to think if there was anything else. I think the baby was the main portion of any sort of improv that anybody had to do because again, we only had him for a very small amount of time every day because you can't have kids on set for the same length of time as us old people. But if there is any improv, it's definitely that.
Great. And how did costume and hairstyling help you find your character each morning on set? Any item you kept after filming?
Ooh, I didn't keep any wardrobe items necessarily, but I did. I got some great makeup tips from our makeup artist. Chandler did a great job, especially with the character, because again, we weren't trying to age my character necessarily, because I mean, she is what she is. She's a mom. She's a young grandma. So we didn't add any gray to my hair or any lines on my face or any of that. Like it has plenty of those anyway. But there is my character is very put together. And I think a lot of that comes from, I mean, the house that we were shooting in is stunning. So like she does well for herself as a business owner. She owns this little coffee shop thing. And I think that's kind of her armor. So she's very put together. And in that way, I think especially being like a young mom and having a loss early on in her life, feeling out of control, her personal appearance is definitely something that she can control. So taking care with that felt very right for the character. Also, I mean, Lifetime has an expectation of, you're people are pretty put together for the most part, but you also have to be true to real life. Like we're not walking around with huge, eyelashes and all of these other things, like super big hair or any of that. So it felt very real, but I think because she's very put together, that helped kind of get into it every day. I'm a pretty casual person in general. Like I don't normally do a lot of makeup. I rarely do my hair. I did my hair for this because I knew people were going to see me. But like I've gone days without brushing my hair before, and it's just in like a sweaty bun on the top of my head, and that is definitely not my character. So getting put together every morning on set definitely made me feel more like Jackie.
Amazing. And the script balances mystery and family drama. How did you find the right routine between suspense and emotional realism in your performance?
Whew. Uh, I think it's just more of it, there's it's a heightened sense. So the situation that we're dealing with is I mean it's more dramatic than it would be in real life, right? Because again, it's a movie. So there is this sort of raised stakes with everything. And the way to stay true to it and to like keep that mystery is just trying to take each realization and each step and each scene as true as you possibly can and make sure that you're like, okay, well, if this is the thing that happens, how can I make what's something that I would actually react to? And whether or not that's, the best version of things, it has to feel real. And so I probably do a good bit of frowning because I think that's something very true for me when I'm trying to process things. I frown because I'm thinking through things. Um, but yeah, and then it's really just honoring the script and just believing the script. So it's like, okay, that's what's happening. All right, let's do it. And just be willing to uh, admit that yes, there are some things that are going to be a little bit more fabricated and more fictional because it's not, real life, but it is real life to our characters. So, just let that play out the way it is. And I don't know, we all had fun with it too. So I think having enjoying what you're doing also makes a big difference. It just makes it feel easy.
Yeah, great. And how did the crew handle sensitive material? For example, since implying harm or trauma to keep the set safe for the actors.
Mm. So, I mean, we had safety meetings for everything because we there were some weapons on set. We had some light stunt work for things too. And I think it's just really good communication and making sure that everybody knew what was going to happen. We know where people were going to be. We knew that, the weapons that we had on set were safe. And then taking the time and care to make sure, especially with weapons, because we there, there's a little spoiler here. Like there's a gun on set at one point, and making sure that that is something that everybody knows what's about to happen, everybody's communicated, and everybody feels good. And if anybody has a question, that there is the space to ask the question. Where it's like, actually, Kate, can I take a closer look at that? Can I make sure that, if you're pointing it at, another character that, you're using camera angles. So, I mean, we weren't using real guns. None of that was real, but you treat it like a real gun. And so making sure that everybody feels safe with what you're doing, and whether that's hand-to-hand combat or weapons, the crew did a great job of making sure that everybody knew what was going to happen, so that we all felt comfortable and we could perform, but so that way we weren't worried about our safety. So yeah, just really good communication and planning. So.
Amazing. And how did the pacing of shooting, order of scenes, time gaps affect your ability to track and portray the character's emotional arc?
It's always a little I think it's just practice for me, just because you're shooting out of order. I mean, you'll shoot stuff, especially it's more location based. Luckily, we were a lot of the stuff happens at this one house, and we were able to do a large, I mean, so things happen, since we have more scenes in one house, we're in one location for a little bit longer than the other locations. But it's very location specific. So you could be shooting a scene from the beginning of the movie and the end of the movie in the same day. And really, I think it comes down to just looking at your script, understanding your character, obviously having those conversations with the director and your castmates about, okay, well, here's what I'm thinking. How do we make this better? Um, but I do a lot of writing in my script, so I'm making sure I have little notes for things. And then before a scene, especially because we're shooting out of order and it's all crazy, uh, I try to read, like I always have my full script, and I try to read the couple of scenes before and after my scene that's about to shoot, just so that it kind of reminds me in the story where we are in the story and where I am emotionally. Because if you know what's happening just before and what's happening after, then you're better able to kind of fill in the blanks between. So.
Yeah, great. And how does this role compare to your previous lifetime LMN work? Similar tones, different challenges?
Uh, well, it's the first grandma I've ever played, so that's definitely different from other Lifetime movies.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I'm trying to think if it is the first. I don't know if it's necessarily the first mom I've played, because I've played a mother before in, theater and other things as well. So that's not necessarily different. Um, but as far as challenges go, I think it was just getting over the fact that I was a grandma. I will say, I know that that's like a vanity thing, but it definitely, I had a little harder of a time with that than I thought I was going to. But once I realized that, okay, like, there's similarities and differences with any character you play. And there's like a little piece of you that is in that character, and that's why you get cast in that role because people can see that they're like they believe you in that. So I had to ignore the things that Jackie and I were dissimilar in and really focus on the stuff that like I could understand about her. And so and I mean that's the challenge with any role, in any Lifetime movie or any movie in general is, how do you find yourself in the character? But yeah, the grandma thing was probably it's the most dissimilar. And it's she was pretty active too. So like there wasn't tons and tons of fighting necessarily that I physically had to do because I know another movie I did last year, Deadly Girls Trip. I got thrown off a balcony. Well, my character did. I didn't. We used a body for that. It wasn't me.
Okay.
But so like there was it's a different vibe because it was less family drama and more girlfriend drama, I guess. Um, but I don't know. I love all of it. And it's always a new challenge for things too. So anytime it's like, oh, well, here's the option. I'm like, oh, well, I've never done that before, so like let's give it a go. So yeah, I love, and that's the thing I love about being an actor. I've worked in the corporate world for years. I've worked in a lot of other things where the days were very similar. I worked in finances, and every day was pretty much the same. And that's fine, but the thing that makes me feel really alive is the challenge of something new all the time. And that's the thing that I really love about this job is, you play different people and everything is a new challenge. And whether it's the location, you're working with different people all the time, and then the internal work that you have to do as a person to portray these characters, that's the part that I find the most rewarding because no 2 days are the same. Even if you're working with the same people on set, no 2 days are ever the same. And that's what I think is super exciting about it. So I'm always grateful to have any opportunity to do that.
Amazing. And how do you hope viewers will react when the central mystery starts to unfold? What emotion do you want them to carry away?
I want them, I want audiences to be a little shocked at the twist. And then also I want them to really feel uh I want them to call their moms and thank them for all the things that they do for them. I think that's it. Because, Jackie fights really hard for her son, and I think sometimes we take the people who care for us a little bit for granted and all of the things that they do. So maybe that's it, is maybe give your mom a little bit of a break because sometimes they might be a little hold on a little too tight or try to do too much. But at the end of the day, it's just because they love you. So, both parents in general, any sort of caregiver, just call them and tell them you love them and you appreciate them.
Amazing. And which past role do you feel prepared you the most for this part and why?
Ooh, you know what? I think it might be one of the first plays I did in college. Uh, it was called Mr. Bundy, and it's by Jane Martin, and has nothing to do with very dissimilar plot lines to this, but I was playing a mother. I was, I think, 18 at the time. And so I'm supposed to play the mother of this little girl. It was the first time I'd ever been cast as a mother. So trying to wrap my head around that sort of life experience that I had not personally had, I think was probably what I would say is something that helped prepare me for every other role. Because again, I don't have children. Um, so I think that's probably what helped prepare me for that because I did a lot of work on that. Just because it was something, I mean, I was 18, I hadn't hardly lived at all yet. Um, so yeah, it was a challenge, for sure. And it was super weird because the girl playing my daughter, I think she was like 14. She looked much younger, so it was a little weird having like this person who's only a couple years younger than you play your like much younger daughter and you're playing much older. So just I think wrapping my head around that was the thing that helped me in the future for like all of these other roles because I've played a mom so many times now.
Yeah, amazing. And the last question, uh, what projects are next for you? And are you looking to continue in suspense thriller roles or branch into other genres?
Ooh, so as far as upcoming things, I do have another Lifetime movie that should be, I think it's going to come out this winter. I'm not 100% sure when it's coming out yet. But it's called The Hockey Mom's Revenge. And
Oh,
I play a hockey mom, and very similar to Jackie in that she loves her son and she would do anything for her son. But unlike Jackie, she takes that love to a very unhealthy and, dare I say, uh,
okay.
dangerous sort of level. So that was a really, really fun one to play. So she's similar to Jackie, but the way that she handles things is very different. So that one should be out, I think, hopefully this next couple of months. Servants, which I'm hoping is going to come out this next year. So, and again, I play a mom in that too. Lots of mom. I'm in my mom era. So I really do love working in thrillers, and mysteries, those kinds of things where there's a really active component. And I think partly because the characters tend, especially for Lifetime, this is something they do really well, is they have really strong female characters. And you and I have talked about this before, but they're not perfect, they're fallible, but there is a strength to them, and I think that that is something I really enjoy playing. But as far as genres that I would love to play, I've never done a sci-fi, and I'm a huge sci-fi fan. I would love to play uh any sci-fi, anything. I mean, Star Trek, call me. I've seen every episode ever. I love Star Trek. But anything in space would be amazing. And then also I love comedy. I when I write, I'm actually a writer and I just started directing this last year. So we're actually in post-production for the first short film that I directed. Um, but I really do love comedy. And I write a lot of comedy. I haven't gotten cast in very many of them, but they're always so much fun to do. So yeah, I guess sci-fi and comedy are the two that I would love to do more of.
Amazing. So this is it. Make sure all of you to catch A Young Father's Nightmare this Friday night on LMN. And thank you, Kate, to join us today.
Of course, it's always wonderful to talk to you.
It's a pleasure for me. And thank you all for watching. Bye.